If you grew up in the 70s or 80s, you remember the sound. Not music, but a specific kind of quiet. The quiet of parents watching the evening news, their faces lit by the blue glow of the TV, not saying a word. You felt the tension in the room before you understood the words inflation, recession, or layoffs. You saw the worry in the set of a jaw, the tired rub of a forehead after a long day. That was your first unspoken lesson in financial psychology. It wasn't taught. It was absorbed through the skin, like the heat of a summer day with no air conditioning. Generation X learned about money by its absence. Not always a desperate absence, but a constant low-grade presence of not enough. It was the calculation in a parent's eyes at the grocery store, putting something back on the shelf. It was the phrase, "We can't afford that," delivered not with anger, but with a weary finality that ended all discussion. Money was a serious adult topic, shrouded in secrecy and stress. You didn't ask questions, you learned to read the room. This created a foundational relationship with finance, built on two pillars, discipline and distrust. The discipline came from watching parents work. Not careers they loved, but jobs they held. They clocked in, they clocked out, they brought the check home. The reward was security, or the closest approximation to it you could get. A roof, a car that started most days, food on the table. The goal wasn't to get rich, it was to not fall behind, to not become one of the stories on the news. The distrust was for the system itself. You saw interest rates skyrocket, saw companies that promised loyalty turn around and downsize entire departments. The social contract, work hard, be loyal, and you'll be taken care of, felt like it was tearing. So you learned to rely on yourself. Independence wasn't a buzzword, it was a survival tactic. You didn't expect a pension or a golden watch. You expected to have to figure it out alone. This is where many of us still live. The shadow of that quiet living room stretches into our present. We are the adults now, making the calculations, feeling the weight of that silence. And if this feels familiar, like I'm describing your own childhood living room, you're not alone. I'd really like to hear if this resonates with you. Drop a comment below and let me know what your first memory of money was. And if you're finding this perspective useful, consider subscribing. We're just getting started. So we entered adulthood carrying this invisible ledger. We valued hard work because we saw it as the only reliable currency. We craved stability because we knew how fragile it could be. And we approached risk not with excitement, but with deep ingrained caution. Taking a financial chance felt less like an opportunity and more like inviting the chaos from the nightly news right into your own home. The goal was to build walls, not bridges, to create a fortress of security that could withstand whatever storm the economy decided to send next. But building a fortress is heavy, lonely work, and nobody ever taught us what to do once we were inside looking out. So you built your fortress. You got the job, maybe not the dream one, but a good one. You saved. You bought the house or a solid condo. You followed the script, work hard, spend less than you make, avoid debt. You achieved the stability your parents worked for. And then you looked around and realized you were in the middle of everything, and the middle is a heavy place to be. This is the Generation X squeeze. You are not struggling to start, and you are not coasting to retirement. You are in the peak earning years, and every dollar has 3, sometimes 4, places it needs to be. There's the mortgage or rent, a number that feels larger every year. There's saving for your own future, a race against a clock you can now hear ticking. Then there are the kids. College tuition is a phantom limb of anxiety, a future bill so large it feels abstract and crushing at the same time. You help with cars, with first apartments, with student loans. You say yes because you want them to have a better start, even if it means your own finish line gets pushed further back. And often, above you are aging parents. Their savings might be thinning, their health needs growing. You become part of the sandwich generation, pressed between 2 layers of responsibility. You're managing not just your own budget, but acting as a silent safety net for the people you love most. The phone rings, and for a split second, you wonder if it's news that requires a checkbook. This constant pressure reshapes your psychology around money in a subtle way. It turns caution into hypervigilance. A dinner out feels less like enjoyment and more like a leak in the dam. Buying something for yourself, something unnecessary, can trigger a wave of guilt. You hear a voice in your head, not your own, but the echo of that weary parental tone. Is that wise? Money is no longer just about security. It's about being the reliable one, the one who doesn't crack, the one who has the answers when the car breaks down or the tuition bill arrives. This role becomes your identity, the provider, the planner, the rock. And while there's dignity in it, there's also a deep fatigue. You master the spreadsheet, the retirement calculator, the budget app. You make smart, conservative choices. But the joy of money, the part where it enables freedom or experiences, gets buried under a mountain of what-ifs. What if the market dips? What if I get laid off? What if my child needs help? What if my parent needs care? The financial plan becomes a document of fear, not a map to freedom. You're doing everything right, but it feels like running on a treadmill, sweating but not moving. The discipline you learned young has hardened into a rigid structure. It keeps you safe, yes, but it also keeps you locked in place, watching the years go by while you guard the fortress, wondering if you'll ever get to walk out the gates and just breathe. Beneath every financial decision we make, there's a script. For Generation X, this script wasn't written in a finance class. It was written in those quiet living rooms, in the phrases we overheard, in the worries we absorbed. It plays in our heads on a loop, a silent narration that guides every choice, often without us even realizing it. The most common line in this script is, "Don't be reckless." It sounds like wisdom, but over decades it can morph into, "Don't take any chances." This is why the idea of investing beyond a savings account can cause a physical reaction, a tightness in the chest. The stock market isn't seen as a tool, it's seen as the casino that wiped out your parents' friends. Starting a side business isn't an exciting venture. It's a terrifying gamble with the family's security. The script equates risk with irresponsibility. So we stay in the lane, even if it's narrow and going nowhere fast. Another powerful line is, "You have to do it all yourself." This is the creed of independence. It means not asking for help, not trusting advisors, not delegating financial tasks. You spend hours researching alone, trying to become your own expert, because relying on someone else feels like a weakness. It feels like surrendering control. This self-reliance is exhausting. It means the mental load of managing everything, the bills, the investments, the insurance, the wills, rests solely on your shoulders. There's no one in the passenger seat to read the map. You're driving blindfolded, just hoping you're on the right road. Then, there's the most corrosive line. You don't deserve it. This is the guilt script. It's what whispers to you when you look at a vacation brochure or consider replacing your 12-year-old car. That money should go to the kids' college fund. It says, your parents never took trips like that. Enjoyment feels like a betrayal of the disciplined, responsible identity you've built. So you postpone. You say, maybe next year, or when the kids are done with school, or when I retire. You treat your own life as the last item on a very long to-do list. This silent script runs in the background of your mind, a piece of software installed in childhood. It was meant to protect you, and it did. It kept you out of debt. It made you a saver. It made you reliable. But the world has changed. The rules have changed, and the script hasn't been updated. It's now holding you back from adapting, from growing your wealth, from finding a balance between security and living. The first step to changing your financial psychology isn't about learning a new investment strategy. It's about listening, really listening to that voice in your head, hearing the old fears for what they are, echoes from the past, not necessarily commands for your future. Listening to that silent script is the first uncomfortable step. The next step is the hardest. You have to start talking back, not with a reckless shout, but with a calm, firm question. You have to challenge the old programming. This isn't about throwing away the discipline that got you here. It's about updating it for the life you're in now, not the life you were afraid of 40 years ago. Start small. The voice says, you don't deserve a nice dinner. You respond quietly, I've worked hard for 45 years. One meal is not a financial crisis. You go. You taste the food. You notice that the world does not end. The bank account does not collapse. The guilt might be there, but you sit with it. You observe it like a passing weather pattern, not a command from God. This is about reintroducing the concept of enough. You've been saving for a disaster for so long, you've forgotten to save for a life. Look at your numbers. Really look. What is the number you need to be secure? Not the fantasy number where every risk is eliminated, but the realistic one. Chances are you're closer than you think. That gap between your current savings and enough might be the space where you can afford to breathe. Maybe it's the space for a modest family trip, for fixing up the backyard, for taking that class you've always wanted. It's money as a tool for living, not just for surviving. It also means redefining risk. Risk isn't just losing money in the market. There's another risk, a quieter one. The risk of arriving at 70 years old with a perfect savings account and a lifetime of postponed joy. The risk of your kids remembering you only as the person who worried about money. Calculated, informed financial risk is not the enemy. It's often the only way to outpace inflation and actually build the security you crave. It means maybe talking to a fee-only financial planner, not surrendering control, but gaining an ally. It's letting go of the idea that you have to be an expert in everything. This shift is psychological, not just numerical. It's moving from a mindset of scarcity to one of stewardship. You are not just guarding a pile of money against the world. You are managing a resource to fund a complete life. A life that includes security, yes, but also includes connection, experience, and yes, some measured enjoyment. You begin to make decisions not just from fear, but from a blend of wisdom and desire. You pay the future its due, but you also pay the present its moment. You start to see that the fortress you built has a door, and it's okay to open it, step outside, and feel the sun on your face for a little while. This isn't about a magic formula or a sudden windfall. It's about a recalibration, a subtle daily shift in how you see the money you've worked so hard for. The goal is no longer just the fortress. The goal is a home, a place that is safe, yes, but also has windows, a garden, a comfortable chair where you can sit and enjoy the view you've earned. Think of it as moving from being a full-time guard to becoming a wise gardener. You still tend the walls. You pull the weeds of bad debt. You water the seeds of your investments. You protect the soil of your emergency fund. But you also plant flowers. You allocate a little plot, however small, for things that simply bring color. A long weekend away with your partner. Helping your adult child with a down payment, not just out of duty, but with genuine joy. Buying the better tools for your workshop because using them makes you happy. This is money in service of your life, not your life in service of money. This new balance requires a new conversation with yourself. It means looking at your budget and deliberately creating a line item for life. It might be called experiences or personal joy or just miscellaneous. Its purpose is to give you permission. Permission to spend without an audit from the ghost of your past. You'll find that this small act changes the flavor of everything else. Saving feels less like deprivation and more like making room for future possibilities. Paying bills feels less like a tribute to fear and more like maintaining the machinery of your life. It also means redefining success. Success isn't dying with the most money in the bank. Success is funding a secure retirement while also having memories that make you smile when you're there. It's leaving a legacy for your kids that includes both financial help and the lesson that life is meant to be lived, not just endured. It's looking at your bank statement and seeing not just numbers, but a story of hard work, yes, but also of family, of resilience, and eventually of enjoyment. You have carried the weight for so long. You have been the rock, the planner, the responsible one. That part of you is invaluable. It got you here, but it doesn't have to be the only part. You can integrate the part that knows how to work with the part that remembers how to play. The discipline you learned young can now be the foundation for a more expansive, more generous, more present version of your life. This journey is deeply personal. If this conversation has sparked something for you, if it's made you think about your own silent scripts, I'm glad. My goal is to bring these reflections to you. If you want to join me for more talks like this, please consider subscribing to the channel and hitting that notification bell. It helps me know you're here, and it ensures you don't miss the next conversation. Thank you for listening. Now, go take a look at your budget. Maybe today you add a new line.